Hi, I'm Sarah Pasch, and I'm a quarter ballet member with Pacific Northwest Ballet.
My name's Ezra Thomson. I'm a soloist with Pacific Northwest Ballet.
And you're watching Eclectic Arts.
All right, so we're here in December, really close to the holiday period, and I'm really excited to be here talking to two of the dancers with the Pacific Northwest Ballet, and we have Sarah and we have Ezra here. So how are you both doing today?
We're good.
Good. Good.
All right, and I understand you just had a show today, correct?
We
Matinee?
did. We just got done like 15 minutes ago.
Okay, and then you have a performance tonight, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so two-show day. And so for people out there that aren't really familiar with maybe, we can even kind of talk about that. So what was your day like today getting prepped? Like what time do you get here before you do your matinee and all that kind of thing? What's your day look like?
You want to go first?
Yeah. So we have a 2:00 show today. So we have class in the theater starting at 12 o'clock. 2 hours before, so there's an hour and 15-minute class. And then half hour is at 1:30. So you have to get all your makeup on, your costume ready. And then the show starts at 2. That's just a performing day. Usually our normal days start at 9:15, and we take class at 9:15, and then we do rehearsals all the way till 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for some people it takes a little longer to get ready, like depending on if you're doing a role like the grandmother or Drosselmeyer where you have makeup fancy that's done, and so you have to start getting ready earlier for the show. Or sometimes with just girls in general, it takes us longer because we have all our hair to do and a lot of makeup. So, but just like Ezra said, 2 hours before a show we have class, and that's where we warm our bodies up, get ready for what we're gonna do, start practicing what kind of steps we're gonna be doing in our shows, and just feel ready for the day.
Okay, and this season of the Nutcracker, how many different characters have each of you played?
Gosh, I have to
You
think
can go
about that.
first.
I'm a mom, and I do the snow, and I do flowers, and I do the dewdrop, which is the lead in the flowers, and I do the Arabian coffee, and I do the Spanish hot chocolate. Is that it? Yep. That's 6 parts.
6, okay, wow.
I do Drosselmeyer, and I'm one of the dolls, and I do the grandfather, and I do the Spanish and the Chinese and the candy cane, and I do Cavalier. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay, I wasn't actually expecting that. So
Yeah.
for people like myself and again the general audience out there, obviously you have to rehearse all of those parts so that you can pull them off.
Yeah.
Do they ever have you rehearse parts that you don't end up getting put into for a performance, or it's like they already know these 6 or these 8 you need to have down?
Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry, go
usually in other programs we do, other reps, you'll get opportunities to learn a part, but only a few people will do it. But because we do almost 40 shows of the Nutcracker, mostly if you learn it, they're going to need that person because it's a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
and we need everybody to be healthy and be able to do all the things that they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. And of the various parts that you both just mentioned, is there one that is the most, for whatever reason, kind of difficult for you, or one that you really tend to just really like when you see, when you see the call sheet or something, that you're that person for that show you're really excited about?
Yeah, I've mentioned the dewdrop. That's one of my favorite roles, but it's also my hardest role. So I love doing it, but it also brings me the most stress out of all my roles, just because it's got a lot of things that I have to do in there that are harder for me, like quote unquote tricks, but there's a lot of turns and things, and I'm in the front the whole time, so it's just a little bit more stress, but it's also really fun. So it's like a love-hate.
That makes sense.
The more featured the role, usually the more you enjoy it, because the more you're on stage. The smaller roles are usually less time on stage. So if you're dancing Drosselmeyer, you're out there for almost the entire first act, whereas if you're the doll, you're out there for about maybe a minute and 10 seconds. So it's always more fun to be out there longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Are there ever times when you guys know ahead of time that you're not going to have to perform that day so that you have a day off, or does that not exist when the Nutcracker season's going on?
Yeah, we have rules where we have to know our casting for a performance, I think, within 10 days before we perform. So with Nutcracker, with all these shows, we're getting our list of the roles we'll be doing for the whole week, like a week prior. So we know a little over a week ahead of time what we'll be doing. But the trick with Nutcracker is that people, because we're doing all these shows, people get injured and sick, and so someone can go out last minute, and even if you're off on a show day, like maybe you don't have any roles that day, you could be called in, and if someone miraculously got injured or sick or something like that. So we kind of always have to be prepared, even if we know we have a show off or something like that, just in case of emergency. But yeah.
You covered it there.
Okay. And as it says in the program, for a lot of people, the Nutcracker is what kind of brings them the first time to the Pacific Northwest Ballet. It's become a tradition for many, many years. I was born and raised here in Seattle, so it goes back to the 80s, if I remember right. And for both of you, though, kind of, or maybe individually, I believe you're both from California, is that correct? Okay, so did you train with PNB? And if so, kind of what's your individual story about what got you from, I guess, whenever you first wanted to dance to now here in December 2018?
Yeah, I'm from Southern California, so I started dancing when I was about 10. So I went to a school in Southern California, and then when I was 15, I moved to Orlando to dance at the Orlando Ballet because I wanted to get better training than what I was having in California. And then right around that time, I figured out that I wanted to come here and try to get a job. So then I came here a couple years after I went to Florida, and I got into the school here. And then after a year in the school, then I joined the company. So it's a long process to get all the way to where we are now. And then you climb the ranks of the company. You start as an apprentice, and then you're a core member, dance a while as a core member, and then hopefully you get promoted to soloist, and that comes with better roles. And so, yeah.
Okay.
I started in California as well, but I was in Northern California, and I danced from when I was a little tiny, probably like 4. I also did gymnastics, though, and I really wasn't into dance. I wanted to do gymnastics all the time, but my mom made me stick with it, so she thought it was good for me, and then I ended up liking it better. So here I am. I trained in a school at home for a little while, and then similar to Ezra, I went away to a bigger ballet school in Houston, Texas, and to get more intense training and to really hone in on my skills. And then after a year there, I was interested in PNB, and I came for the summer intensive, and they put me in the school for 2 years, and then I joined the company in 2009, yeah. So yeah, here we are today.
Wow. So for both of you, when you said that you came here and were like put in the school like for 2 years or a year, what was life like for you back then, being not from this area? You're going to school. Are you also like working too outside of that, or what's that life like?
I had graduated high school already, so I didn't have to do any academic school. And for the most part, we didn't have time to have a job because you're working here. You get a small stipend to work in the school. You're training most of the time, but you're also dancing with the company. So like Nutcracker, you're doing a lot of parts in the Nutcracker. Any of the bigger ballets, you have to dance with them. And then that class of people produces somewhere between 1 to 4 people that get into the company every year.
Okay.
So then you're mostly just spending your time just hoping that in that year or 2 years that you spent in the school, you made a good enough impression to get into the company.
Yeah.
Then you have a real job.
And both Ezra and I, when we're mentioning that we were in the school, there's levels in the school, and then there's one level above the highest level called the professional division, which is what we were involved in, which are kind of like interns in a way. They're still students, they're training in the school, but like Ezra said, they're also dancing with the company and learning what it's like to have a professional dancing job, and all those, there's a lot of people in that program, but the ones that don't get a job here are also auditioning all year round for other ballet companies and trying to get jobs elsewhere. So being in this program it's just a way of training us all to be ready to have a professional job. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and as you mentioned earlier about kind of working your way through the ranks of the company, I assume that you have to audition for that to get to another level, or how's that work?
It's just based on everything, mostly the artistic director's opinion, but it's also based on how long you've been here, how many roles you've done, how well you do at that role, your work ethic, all of those types of things.
But we don't audition.
You don't audition. It's not like in an orchestra where you like challenge to get the next seat,
Right.
Or things like that. It's just based on time and the type of dancer you are and how you push through the career.
Yeah, and our boss gives opportunities to younger dancers, also the dancers that are higher ranked in the company, but younger dancers might get opportunities to do certain soloist parts or leading parts, and that's kind of your time to show if you're ready to be promoted or if it's going to be a few years or anything like that. But that's how we're auditioned in a way. If we get opportunities, and the way we handle those opportunities show how you're gonna go on. So
Okay. And kind of looking to the future in 2019, I believe Sleeping Beauty is the next production in February. So how do they find or cast like that show? Does that involve you guys, everybody in the company, and they kind of figure out who's going to do what, just like they did with Nutcracker, or how's that process work?
Sleeping Beauty is a large ballet, so it's everybody. Everybody's in it. There's nobody not in it. And then you just like Sarah said, if you're new in the company, you usually dance the lowest roles, the core roles, all those things. And then if you've spent a little time and it's time for you to get your opportunity, maybe you get to learn a nice role, soloist role. And then the people that are the principals in our company dance the leading roles, with some exceptions where younger people are learning those as well. But that's all cast by our artistic team who's in charge of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you guys ever work with like the younger programs, like the children's programs too, as teachers? Kind of like if you're a grad student or something, teaching undergrad in college, or?
Yeah, sometimes we can offer to teach in the school here. Some of us teach younger kids outside of this school because there's a lot of ballet schools around the Seattle area that are often asking for teachers. So if we're interested in teaching, there's a lot of ways we can go out there and teach. But none of us really have a lot of time to teach here just because we're always here working and rehearsing and all of that.
Yeah. PNB itself has an outreach program where they go out to area public schools and teach young kids, the beginning steps of ballet, and then talk about ballet, and then try to get them interested. And then throughout the course of 1 year, and then they'll invite some of those kids to come and join our school. So
on a scholarship.
Yeah, PNB as a company has more of an outreach program than per se just the dancers in the company, since we're working most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, we were just talking about Sleeping Beauty. Big ballets like Sleeping Beauty have young kids in them as well. So and during Nutcracker also. So it's kind of fun. We get to be backstage with all these really little kids that really look up to us, and they feel like so excited to be dancing with us on stage. So that's always really fun too.
Cool. I just had a brain fart for a second. That's okay. What would you say is one of the, or maybe not one, but a couple of the misconceptions of being a ballet dancer. I think for some people on the general public, they think it's like something you can just kind of show up, do your thing, and then you're on stage, you're off stage, and it's like it's nowhere near as easy as that. Obviously, you just mentioned some of that during this interview, with all the years and years of training and needing to warm up your bodies for hours before you even get on stage and that kind of thing. But is there any other kind of misconceptions you've kind of come across as dancers from friends or family?
I think the biggest misconception all around is that people don't really understand it's a real job. It takes your entire life and your dedication to it for, like you just said, years and years. And we make a living at it. We're a union company. We survive doing dance. And a lot of people go, "Oh, that's nice, you dance. Where do you work?" Like, well, that is our job. We do
That's
that.
our job.
I think that's the biggest misconception that I would say.
Yeah, and I always like to say this because I think it gives people a lot of perspective, but if you think of us almost like professional athletes, then I think people get the idea. Because, yes, we don't get paid as much as professional athletes, but we certainly make a great living, and we get to do what we love, and we have to work really hard at it. And, we get injured a lot, and we have to come back from injuries and all those sorts of things. And, it's just it's a real job, and sometimes people just have a really hard time wrapping their brain around that. But I would also say too that for the I guess I'm thinking of like the aesthetic and the whole body image thing. I think there's a lot of misconstrued ideas out there about how dancers always have to be like thin and they don't eat and all that kind of thing, but we're all very, like I said, athletes. We're athletes, and we have to take care of our bodies, and we eat well, and we work out, and we train on the side, and so it's really a very physical job besides just the dancing.
Okay, and I guess the last thing I'd like to say to kind of wrap this up is what do you have coming up in the future? And also, what are your goals, say, like 5-10 years from now?
Yeah. Well, we have four more reps this season.
Mm-hmm.
So we never know all of our casting that far ahead, but there's a lot of fun things that we get to dance, or I hope to get to dance in all of those. And just staying healthy. Usually it's hard to stay healthy in this career. So 5 years down the line, I'd like to still be healthy and dancing, and my knees be good and all that. It's probably my biggest goal for dancing at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Very similar, but I'm also going to bring into the mix that I'm also going to school on the side. I'm getting my degree to be an elementary school teacher, so I would hopefully be done with that in 5 years and moving on to my next career. But all the things Ezra said, we just all want to be healthy and not injured and be able to fully enjoy this career, because again, to bring back the professional athlete thing, we don't last very long. I mean, making it to 40 in the ballet world is like a huge accomplishment. Most people retire in their 30s, so that's a really crazy thing to think about. And so we all just want to be able to enjoy it as long as we can, and not have too many bumps along the way. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview today, and happy holidays to both of you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.